Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
For anybody that's out there or those that are coming, let me get all of my machines and we're going to get this party started, right?
I like the party starting.
We're going to get this party started quickly, right? I know that brought back a memory. I know. All right, so we got my notes. So everyone, it is 12:03. There were 9:03, depending on what coast you're on, or it's a something 03 maybe, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the debut show of the social media scene. Yay! You know what? I need sound effects. I need those Google Hangout applause.
Yay! You know, sound effect. Here, that sound effects.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, that's sound effects on a budget. Okay.
Exactly.
So let me explain first what the social media scene is. The social media scene is a weekly Facebook Live, and we will probably stream in some other places too, YouTube and Busker and some other places. But for right now, today for the first show, we're on Facebook Live, and we're going. And we're going to talk about social media and where social media meets entertainment and television. And I am Alice Fuller, Principal Consultant at Sheer Social, which is a boutique social media marketing, training, and consulting business. And my illustrious host is a fellow, passionate social media professor, as well as a journalist and an overall media professional. So I introduce to you, world, Chitachi Egwu.
Hello, yes. You look at me like, yes? Yes, that's it, yes. Chitachi Egwu, and she's all those things that I said. And I am super excited to be doing this today. I love social media. I actually teach a social media class right now, so this is good stuff.
Yes, this is good stuff. So yes, which is funny because we're so much alike. It's kind of funny as far as our backgrounds are concerned and our interests. So it's so nice to find somebody you can get in your zone with, and you don't see their eyes. Just be like, okay, when's she gonna stop talking?
Down to being in the same organization.
Yes, down to being in the same organization. So if you are one of those spiritual persons, maybe this was divine. If you are not, you could say it's coincidental. Then whatever you want to say, we here. And so today's episode, you know what? It's funny because last week we were supposed to launch. Last week was supposed to be the official launch. And then the computer decided it wasn't interested. It was tired. It was like, you know what? I've been around a minute, and some of this newfangled stuff you're trying to do, I'm not down with. So I'm just gonna clock out. And so while it slept, I went in like Samson and Delilah, and I didn't cut hair, but I removed some artificial data, put some new artificial data in, put in a new hard drive, and now we are where we are today. So yay for technology when it works.
All right. When it wants to work,
when it wants to work, it is a beautiful thing. But when it doesn't, it can mess up everything. But not one artificial monkey will stop this show. Okay, so
artificial monkey.
Artificial.
As opposed to a natural one.
Well, a natural one would stop the show now for a minute. For a minute. Because, because the monkeys I'm accustomed to meeting and being around are on 2 feet. And generally they don't eat bananas as a regular diet.
No, okay. No, there you go.
No.
I like the word orangutan. That's what I usually.
She said orangutan. They're cute. Yeah. They're cute. And depending on who you ask, they may have, a lot of our DNA, but I'm just not interested. So,
there you go.
So today, but it's funny because today I was thinking too, today is not a good day to start because there's so many more important things going on in the world than what people are tweeting and Facebook and this and that and the other. However, it is a good day to launch because of what people are tweeting and putting on Facebook and what's going on in social media as well as in media as a whole. So I could not come on live today and act like stuff is not happening that directly impacts me professionally and personally. You can see I'm a African American female. We are both African American females, and we're both media professionals. So for us to act as if, oh, it's just another day, it's not. It's not. It's a very serious day for a lot of people. So,
And not to interrupt you,
man, you
Alice,
can. You're the co-host.
and thank you, and I will interrupt you then. Part of the thing was I was feeling the same way. It's like I generally post several times a day on Twitter. I'm posting on Facebook, on all the social media that I use.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to take a step back.
Yes.
Usually what I post is not related to hard news. It's not related to, they're related, it may be related to current events, and I pick and choose what I put out there. But when I looked at my timeline for Twitter, when I looked at my Twitter feed, all you saw was the 3 events that have happened within the last 48 hours. That's all you saw.
Yep.
I'm like, well, we can't not talk about this. We can't not address it, especially since most of this lived out on social media. And that's the interesting thing about current events and what's happening now. Whereas even 10 years ago, which is not that long ago, 10 years ago, you weren't seeing life play out on social media the way you see it play out now. True. And so there's no way we cannot talk about the 3 events. And we have a bunch of stuff that's coming up that we'll address that. But I feel you. I almost couldn't bring myself to post, and you feel like you don't want to post about anything else because this is too important not to post about. But I think as a media professional, there's a paradox there. You can talk about it and post about it, which is what we do. Talk about it.
Sorry.
And post about it, which is what we do.
Oops. Okay, go ahead.
You can talk about it, you can post about it, which is what we do and which is what within our field we do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you sometimes feel like, well, I should do something about it or I should be about it, which is kind of at conflict with your journalism side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As unobtrusive observers. So this is really it's a great day to start, like you said, but it's also a difficult day to start.
It also reminded me why I'm so glad I don't work in news anymore. Because this is the day when the newsroom can get real tense, and that's a story nobody wants to talk about, because it'll take that one person to tell that joke that earlier in the week you might have been okay with it, but this day, not so much. And then too, because knowing how the news cycle is going to roll, and depending on where you get your news from. And here's what's interesting, too, from a social media and a traditional media standpoint. It's going to be really interesting how this evolution of what we're doing in media. Because traditional media is so behind social media. So traditional media is having to go to social media to get its news so that it can tell the traditional media audience. When you were talking about the guy who had the rifle at the rally in Dallas. Now,
why don't we start off with that? Why don't we start off talking about that then?
Okay, so it's kind of interesting to me. Now, he is within his Second Amendment right to carry a firearm, in public. But I'm thinking, bruh, you just gonna bring a gun to the party? This party? Really? You just really want to do that? So you really want to put like a target on your back at this particular event? Okay, that's your right. That's what you want to do. But what's interesting is when they misidentified him as someone who might have been a shooter. And I was on Twitter longer than I should have been last night. I was on Twitter till like 3 a.m.
Wow.
Just looking at all the different things coming in Periscope. Because now, for those of you that don't know, you don't have to, if you're on Twitter, you don't have to leave Twitter to view Periscope anymore.
Correct.
You can view it right in your timeline. And if you want to go streaming on Twitter and Periscope. You just go to Twitter, and you just push the icon within Twitter, and you can literally start streaming via Periscope.
Correct.
So the two are very integrated now and not separated. So I never even really had to go over to Periscope to see anything. I'm seeing it all on the Twitter timeline. And when the news came out, well, here's a potential shooter, and then all you had to do was scroll. Y'all are wrong. You can see he is right here on the street. He is not at the Bank of America or wherever you said the sniper was. He's right here on the street. I'm standing next to him. I'm standing behind him. All of this information coming in about this is not the correct guy. So go ahead. What did you want to say about that?
Well, his name the Dallas police tweeted a picture of Mark Hughes, of the gentleman who was wrongly identified. His name was Mark Hughes, who was wearing a camouflage T-shirt and what appeared to be a rifle. So at the bottom of the picture, you can see the butt end of a gun.
Yep.
And so they tweeted out, quote, "This is one of our suspects. Please help us find him." Which, to me, until you know, is irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of whether he used the best judgment of coming to a rally with a gun, if I'm not mistaken, it's an open carry state.
Yep.
So you can do that.
You can do that.
Whether or not it's the best judgment to go to a rally where that's beside the point.
That's beside the point.
I would say personally, I probably would not have done that, but that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So but the point is you can do that. The point is also that you may be more scrutinized when you are a person of color doing that, but neither here nor there.
Yep.
So Mark Hughes, they tweeted out, "This is one of our suspects. Please help us find him." Mm-hmm. They also then got on Periscope and talked about it. So they're getting on, even though Twitter and Periscope, they're technically the same because Twitter owns Periscope. This is, for all intents and purposes, a separate platform that they got on and did this. So the tweet is still live. It's not going away.
Yeah.
So, he actually, apparently, according to The Verge, had handed his gun to a police officer. His brother saw the seriousness of what was going on. He was like, "No, give your gun to."
Yes.
So he didn't even have it, at the time. So, and there are till now, unless something has changed in the past 10 minutes, there's been no apology. So that also attests to the power of social media. Number one, that you have a legitimate agency that is getting on there and using it to help find. However, because they did not do due diligence in the beginning, now you are disseminating wrong information via social media, which is something that we don't expect public officials to do. That's something we don't expect.
No, we don't expect it. But shoot, even before social media, it happened.
Absolutely.
And especially, and you know what? I'm trying to put myself in their position too, because they're desperate. They're desperate to find this individual. So by any means necessary via social media, if this is a person we're looking for, we want to get this out as soon as possible. Even though we may be wrong, we can do it, apologize, or maybe not apologize later. But understanding this is so critical to us because someone is out here shooting cops.
Absolutely. This is and I think that was even that gave them even more fervor to find it because of who was being affected. That's just me saying that.
Yeah.
So it's one of their own. So they're really going to take this head on.
Yeah.
The good thing is the other end of the social media is that, as you said, within seconds there were people like, "Please retweet this. This is not the right individual." You can see so. Before the news agencies even had information or correct information, it was already being talked about and solved on social media.
And so then you've got the community telling the traditional media, "Y'all need to correct this and correct it now." Because you're sending out the wrong. We got the right information. We're already 10 minutes, an hour ahead of y'all. We already figured out it's not him.
Exactly.
So correct yourself.
Exactly.
So, but
that's that aspect of checks and balances that is needed. That's exactly needed, and that's what social media provides. It provides a way to check people, even from the simplest thing of you got messed up on a flight. and your airline is not compensating you, what do people do? They take to Twitter and they blast
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Okay, so it's like really taking that into your own hands. So the community taking back reputation, the community taking back what is right. So I think that was what was so powerful about that moment in particular. I think it's powerful on the law enforcement end as well, if it's used right and if they do their due diligence in terms of finding information. Because now, here's the thing: anytime you look up Mark Hughes, even though he didn't do it, an employer, a potential employer can look at it and this is what comes up.
Yep.
They don't feel like having questions asked or answered because they see he's carrying a gun. This can really follow him forever. This is why you have to be so careful. Nothing disappears from social media or the internet. So
no,
you can retract it, but it's still there.
It's still there. It is still, as I would say, Googleable. As long as they can put your name in and rifle or shooting, and it still comes up, that's opportunities lost to you. Straight. I mean, just right off, because they'll be thinking the same thing we were thinking. Why would you bring that to that situation? To even be put in that situation? But it was his right, so maybe he's an entrepreneur or something. Who knows?
And you know what? Our job is not to speculate as to why he had that. Again,
nope.
If it were me, I probably would not have.
Oh,
that does not mean that he does not have the right to do so.
That's it.
Although it seems that only certain people have rights to do so.
Hey.
I'm going to digress from that.
Well, actually, we're gonna stay, but we're not gonna go down that. We're trying not to get it all in our feels, all in our emotions, as the youngins would say.
No, we don't want to, but that's actually fact. I was actually watching News One this morning with Roland Martin, and they were talking about this a lot. And there are documented studies when it comes to that.
Yep.
In terms of, so it's not just really getting in your feelings. It's fact.
It is fact. It is. Yeah. So now you can't say y'all are just so emotional.
It's fact.
No, we're factual. This is factual. No, this is not all emotion. This is fact.
It is, and it's. I try when these things happen. Believe me, okay. With the Pulse nightclub attack in Orlando, I try. It can get to be too much. Like you said, I'm so glad that I am not in the newsroom because all of this gets to be too much. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was just too much to the point where I knew I needed to be on social media, but I was trying to stay off of it. When I was watching these the protests. Everybody was streaming the protests, whether they were spectators or whether they were actually in the protest itself, the march itself. Everybody was streaming it. And so on Periscope, I turned off the comments because there were also those people who wanted to say ignorant things as per usual. And I don't have the wherewithal because I want to answer every one of them back and cut them down to size.
Yes.
So let me just turn off the comments because that will make for a better viewing experience for me. So, go ahead, sorry.
But here's what's interesting, too, because now that was Dallas last night. But even if we go before Dallas last night, and we have this instance in Minnesota,
yes.
And the very use of Facebook Live to document.
Absolutely.
That, no, she didn't document the shooting. I can't even remember the woman's name at the moment.
She did, her name is... is her last name Diamond or her first name Diamond?
I think her last name is Diamond.
Diamond, right. So
I think her last name is
Diamond. I can't remember her first name. She was a girlfriend of Philando Castile.
Yeah, and to watch that, because at this point, you're reading that it was put on social media, and then the platform was taking it down because it was too graphic. And so, you see the tweets or you see the Facebook updates. We see, we got to keep posting this. We got to keep posting it so that people can see it. And when you watch that video of her having the phone, talking to the officer, he's still pointing the gun at her boyfriend, because I don't think they're married. But at her boyfriend.
Apparently fiance.
Fiance, boyfriend.
Get married.
And you literally, just how she handled it was we throw around the word amazing a lot. Especially in LA. No diss to LA. But everything is so amazing. That isn't. But I get it.
I can just say that here in Miami too. Amazing. Yeah,
Everything is just so amazing.
Yeah.
But that there is amazing because she kept her head in a situation where she could have been shot, and the baby in the back seat. And she had enough sense or enough thought to say, okay, let me just turn on the Facebook Live, let it record, and if I can do that and still be within everything this cop is asking me to do, because technically at this point, I've got my fiance literally dying next to me. I've got my baby in the back seat. And we're watching this unfold as it's happening.
Absolutely.
At this point, you cannot deny what is going on. And that's it's funny when people started using Facebook Live, it's just like, oh, well, I'll just use it, to chit chat with my friends, or, as marketers, we'll use it to, promote our business or something of that nature. And then, of course, you've got Facebook wooing media companies to use the various tools and the APIs and all that other stuff to literally broadcast through Facebook Live. But I don't think this right here was the thought that we could use this platform, because generally when we saw this, it would always be on YouTube. You'd have to go to YouTube, and it had already happened. It had already happened and recorded and up on YouTube. And then we got to Periscope. Some things you could see on Periscope. But then with Facebook and Facebook Live, she put her life in danger to ensure that this was documented.
Absolutely. Because, who would have, had she not used Facebook Live to document this, God knows what would have happened.
He say, she say.
Exactly. It's a he say, she say at that point, and you don't know. Here you have clear evidence that something took, although she did not document the shooting. No. I guess as soon as it happened, she snapped into action.
Yeah, because if I'd imagine if she'd have put up that phone at that particular moment, it would have been lights out for her too.
Exactly. I think, I just can't even imagine the amount of, well, before I talk about that, let me talk about what Mark Zuckerberg said. He did issue a statement today. He did. And he said, quote, "My heart goes out to the Castile family and all other families who have experienced this kind of tragedy. My thoughts are also with the members of the Facebook community who are deeply troubled by these events," and then ending off with, it was a lengthy post. While I hope we never have to see another video like Diamonds, it reminds us why coming together to build a more open and connected world is important and how far we still have to go. Mm-hmm. So, this is not lost on Mark Zuckerberg either, the power of Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think this was the intention of the Facebook crew when they, or any live streaming crew. It's to share moments with friends, but we live life online now. We live life live. And we have to come to expect that everything you do has a potential to go live. Mm-hmm. Has a potential to go live. But I think this is something that has not scared or not been thought about by law enforcement, because the same things continue to happen. And, the thought is, well, okay, well, if they're wearing body cameras, or if there's a potential for it to be streamed live online, there's going to be less of rush to do whatever it is, and that apparently is simply not true. Mm-mm. It's not true. So if you're not scared of being broadcast around the world, if you're not, that's probably because there are no repercussions for you, and it's been shown that there are really no serious consequences when it comes to that. So social media has exposed this. Mm-hmm. But that's not the end point. Now we need other people to step in and do something about it.
Yeah. I think the other beautiful thing about using social media in this particular instance and in others is it's unedited to a degree. Mm-hmm. By the time we see it, because it's person to person, it hasn't run through a news director yet. It hasn't run through a reporter.
Right.
Citizen journalism at its, or you may not even want to call it journalism, depending on how you feel about your journalistic degree. But at the end of the day, The truth is the truth, and here it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start thinking about how social media is giving it to you unfiltered, we didn't have to have a committee meeting about it. There was no weekly brainstorming meeting about it.
Exactly. While you all are in the newsroom, the afternoon meeting, deciding what we're going to put on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever news, social media has already shown what's it. And so what's happening now is that the industry, that journalists, the newsroom is trying to play catch up. Yeah. Again, there is nothing like being trained to understand and sort through what needs to be, because you cannot show everything.
Yep.
It's impossible. There's too much that goes on in the world to cover everything. So of course, then you have these gatekeepers that determine, which is the producers, etc., that determine what gets on air.
Yep.
Okay, but now it's to the point where citizen journalists have said, "Well, damn it, I'm just going," and we're seeing everything. So the things that before the news gatekeeped, which is not a word, but I made it one, gatekeeped, we're in the habit of gatekeeping. Now the average citizen journalist is saying, well, I feel it's newsworthy, I'm going to show it.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm telling you, the power of social media, if nothing else, this is, in fact, we saw this, it wasn't live stream. Eric Garner, the arrest of Eric Garner was not live streamed. I think that was just videotaped. Excuse me, videotaped, recorded, and then after the fact we saw it.
Yep.
So I would probably venture to say that this is the first time that we've seen this live streamed. I would venture to say that.
I think you're right. Especially an arrest of like that, and we're literally in the car with you, and we're hearing it, and we can hear the nervousness and whatever emotion that cop was going through, and I mean, how rare is it? Now, for those people that have actually experienced being in a car and being pulled over by a cop and it did not go well, then you can really relate. But for the broader audience that has never had that experience, and you're literally brought into the situation, and you can comfortably look at it, on your computer or on your mobile phone, and then you get uncomfortable because then you realize she's not a paid actress. This is not a script.
Exactly.
This is not a set. This is happening in real time.
Exactly.
And that's the power. And then, of course, the interviews that she had done after that, because then the question becomes why. And I knew it was coming. Well, why weren't you more interested in what was happening with your boyfriend than trying to put this on Facebook? You knew that was coming. You knew that was coming.
It was, but those are people that think small. The whole thing is you want there's a broader point here and a broader conversation. It goes beyond her. It goes beyond her now deceased fiance. It goes beyond the child who is now going to be seriously traumatized by watching her dad die. It goes beyond that. It's like, this is not the first time either. Think about it. This reminded me of Bloody Sunday. Remember when they were crossing the Edward Pettit Bridge? That was all caught by the news.
Yep.
And that was the first time, that plus the hoses and the dogs on protest for the Youth March, those showed the callousness of society, and it also showed the reality of what was going on, because you could talk about it, but people are like, yeah, I didn't believe. So if she had just talked about it in a first-person account, it has less weight and less credence and less important than you actually being there in the car with her, showing that. And I think in the back of her head, she knew, I have to record this, I have to get this out there live so people can see what's going on. It's not just about me. And again, I'm speaking for her, which I should not, but it appeared to me that it was, but she said this in the news conference, it could have happened to you or you or you. So I think she was thinking in the broader sense. So the people that are saying, oh, why weren't you, have several seats. Have several seats. Because my favorite saying is take the crosstown bus to hell. But I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
No, you're not gonna say that at all. Not even.
Not at all. I'm not gonna tell them to take the crosstown bus to hell. No.
But
I'm just going to tell them to have several seats, maybe on that crosstown bus to help. But it shows a lack of empathy, and I think now here's the thing: it's beyond social media.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond social media. Social media was the conduit that actually showed this and made it possible for us to understand exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for some people, oh, this is really real.
Mm-hmm.
This really does happen, and in fact, it's interesting. I'm looking now, like looking down at my phone, because there was a. This has been shared a number of times on Facebook. I actually saw this on. Yes, so it was one of a good friend of mine. I saw this on her timeline, and there is an article that was written by. She's I think an education professor.
Yeah.
And did you see the article?
No.
Oh, she's an education professor, and she actually, it's on the Huffington Post actually, and it's called "On Mothering White Sons to Know That #Black Lives Matter."
Oh.
And this has been shared a number of times. Of course, it was on HuffPost's social media,
Mm-hmm.
But I happened to see it on Facebook, shared by my friend, and that is the key in terms of taking personal responsibility for what's happening. Taking personal responsibility for what's happening. And she I read the article, it's excellent. She goes into the fact of she doesn't have to worry. She has a young son, a baby.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to worry about her son not coming home or something to that effect, or having to have the talk.
Yeah,
with her son, because her son is white. And so she basically goes into the fact that white mothers and fathers need to do a better job of educating their children that Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about it, it's like, how unfair is that? So, everybody else, and they've said this several times on the news, everybody else is having that birds and the bees talk. That's not the first talk you get when you're Black. It's like, all right, the police, all that other stuff. You should not have to have that conversation with a child. Mm-hmm. And I can bet most of the people I know, and you know what? This is the thing. It goes beyond. No amount of education can save you. No amount of money can save you.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with that. So people, have wrongly thought that, well, if I work hard and I go to law school at Harvard and I do it, then it doesn't protect you. I'm sorry. I was a professor at a university on my own campus. I had an issue one time.
Ooh.
Granted,
okay.
I may not look very professorial. Sometimes I may look like one of the students, but be for damn sure I don't dress like a student when I'm on campus.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I wasn't even thinking. It was my division director that pointed out. Well, most of the students in your class of color, I wasn't even thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else had to point it out to me. So, it doesn't matter who you are. It can touch you at any level. And things like this, the articles like this, are really important. So I'm glad that it got shared so many times on social media.
There was an article by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson that was floating around on Twitter last night, too. And I've got so many machines that I'm looking at right now. I can't even get to it. But it was interesting to see how many non-Black people were pretty much saying something similar, taking what he wrote about, this is what y'all don't understand. Y'all being white people don't understand about what we're going through right now. And in many instances, when you get that kind of support and you get that kind of, okay, we get it. This is not the time to bring in the all lives matter. We get that it's all lives matter. But right now, we understand that this particular segment and Black Lives Matter is what we're dealing with today. And so to have that kind of swell of support, because I was a little surprised at how, I don't know how viral it went, but at the same rate, it did pick up a lot. So at the end of the day, this is, we're going to hear a lot of conversations about this is not a Black thing, this is not a white thing, this is a human thing. We're going to hear lots of those conversations, and that indeed is true. We're going to hear a lot of, we're going to read a lot of stuff via social media, because at this point, I would dare say, here's the thing. I did not turn on the TV at all for 4 or 5 hours. It was all Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, and some Facebook Live. Those were my news sources. Now, of course, not all of those news sources were peer to peer. They were not just person to person, but some of them were from, vetted, professional, traditional media outlets, because you have to have that balance. Because now that everybody is a news reporter in their head,
you're right.
Now that everybody is a news reporter in their head, real and imagined journalist, so you have to have that balance. But at the same rate, which leads me to this next thing I want to talk about with Jesse Williams, because it's so interesting how just last weekend, was it not last weekend, but was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weekends ago, when he made his speech at the BET Awards.
When he made his speech at the BET Awards.
Yeah.
And of course, being what it was, it pissed people off. Some people off. And that speech, you knew it was going to go viral. First, it was on BET. BET was already trending for the BET Awards, was already trending Facebook, Twitter, wherever else. That's a given. And then the next day, the only thing you remember people talking about the most was Jesse Williams.
Right.
So it was like, well, who performed? I don't know, but did you hear Jesse Williams' speech? Well, was such and such there? I don't know, but I saw on Facebook.
Although it was well produced, I will say that they did, Deborah Lee and BET kudos. It was well produced. To me, there were not a whole lot of highlight moments outside of the Jesse Williams speech and Sheila E. performing. So that's just me. So of course, Jesse Williams is going to be a huge highlight.
Yes. So that lived. Usually the day after the performances, people rush to YouTube or they rush to Facebook to see a replay. And I hate to say it, we're getting to the point now it's just like, oh, I can watch it. Somebody will post it on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube in a minute, as opposed to watching it on TV. So that is something that's going to be a trend. But at the end of the day, that speech will so outlive that one BET Awards. And when you look at what he said and what we're dealing with right now, I'm curious to know those people who had the petition, who were using social media to get this petition signed to have him fired.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Were you at any of the marches yesterday? No.
Huh?
This is my thing. You took all of that energy, and what Jesse Williams was saying was nothing that is not documented fact and truth that scholars, that critical race scholars have been talking about forever. Yes. It's nothing new. He's not pulling things out of his head, out of his behind. This is actually documented and well-discussed phenomenon that he's talking about. He knows. The man is educated, okay? He knows a little bit of something. Mm-hmm. And so for you to, and by the way, I bet you any amount of money that the majority of people signing this damn petition either, one, never saw the entire speech, the speech in its entirety, they're just going off of hearsay, and or two, they watched clips and they have the highlights and that's what they saw, and now they're signing a petition. Why the hell would you sign a contract if they only gave you half of what the requirements were? Oh, well, we forgot to. Why would you sign a petition after not seeing the entire thing? And I bet you, most people who signed that did not watch the speech in its entirety. So, Jesse Williams, this is another case of social media making this live. Jesse Williams was trending, obviously, so it was trending. And there were people who did not watch the BET Awards, but got to see Jesse Williams' speech. And that was all social media. Because there were people that were also streaming this, whether you're supposed to or not. They were doing it.
Good point. Very good point. Now, I'm one of my sources here said 1.9 million tweets were around the BET Awards.
1.9 million tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Versus, now we know Game of Thrones is a very, very popular show.
Correct.
I mean, it is. People love that show.
It
I don't
is
care what
the
color
show.
you are, what race, that matters not. People love Game of Thrones.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It received 1.18 million tweets.
So what,
BET.
it's the finale of Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So with 1.91 million tweets around the BET Awards, 1.1, 1.1 million tweets around Game of Thrones, 1.18 million tweets. Now, here's what I find interesting though, because when you think about the audience is already on Twitter,
right,
and the power of Black Twitter, you cannot deny that there is a connection, there is something there to be leveraged if you know how to do it.
Absolutely.
If you know how to and do it correctly. So the fact that when these events are occurring, and a lot of the millennials, not the older people like Gen X and the rest don't immediately think social media, but it's this the Black millennials now. It's their first thought to hit the Twitter, to hit the Instagram. That is their way of getting that information out.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, in some cases, it may not be verified as far as all the factuals. But when you start thinking about, when you look at BET, which is just one award show on one night every year, and you have Game of Thrones, which has been on for how many months now?
Oh, I can't even say.
And even though it probably was a big event, big night for that particular show,
yeah,
BET killed it as far as how many mentions it got.
Absolutely.
And that also says it wasn't just Black people tweeting about it.
No, absolutely. I think, well, that's the thing. This phenomenon of social media and commenting on social media, making your thoughts known, it transcends everything. Everyone is on social media. It's important. I'm also looking at us on Facebook Live on my other device. I wanted to say hello to Tony Mobley, who's watching us, and Alana Lansing, who's watching us. There's a few people watching us now. I can't tell who's who, but Tony, hey, thank you for watching. And and
share it, Tony, share it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys, share it. This is our first episode, and we're going to do this every Friday right here. And Tony is like, so you have started something.
Me?
Miss Ellis.
Me?
Yes, because,
little old me?
You started something because, yes, Tony noticed that we are doing the dual screen thing. And so he was like, how are you having the conversation with the young lady using Facebook Live? Can you add a guest now? Not yet, Tony. You are going to be able to. They are going to have dual broadcasting on Facebook Live later this summer. But right now, we jimmied the whole thing.
Oh yeah, we rigged it. We are two Miss MacGyvers up in here. Okay,
If there's a way, one of my good friends went to Clark Atlanta, and she loves their motto, which is find a way or make one. So that's what we did.
We made one. We made one.
So I mean, it's actually not very difficult to do. If you want to get at us offline, Tony, we will be happy.
I'll be happy to share the production secret.
Absolutely. That's what we're here
for free.
Right? Exactly. Because and Tony is great because he's a broadcaster as well. He's documenting his weight loss journey and his almost 200 days over 200 days without using diabetes medication at all. And he was a type 2 diabetic before. So he's documenting that journey, and I'm sure he's really interested in this technology. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for those of you who are with us for being here because we love you.
Yes, we do. And we need you. We need you to participate and to share. That's why we call it the social media scene. Because for one, you'll never get bored because there's always something evolving and happening on the social media scene. So we want to address, because between our two backgrounds, as media professionals, as professors of social media, and because this is what we're passionate about. So we could talk the talk and we walk the walk.
Yes.
All day,
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
24/7.
Absolutely. If you're going to teach it, you have to be about it, because Alice does trainings and such. I'm also the professor, as she noticed. I can't stand when professors don't walk the walk.
We're not gonna go there. That's another episode.
That's another episode. I don't.
I wrote that blog post already. We can go back to that, but not today.
We're not going to get into that. But
nope.
I'm just saying that not only do we teach what we do what we do. So
all day, every day, and even on Sundays. I hate to admit it, but even on Sundays.
I started taking a sabbatical from some social media on weekends, just because you also have to live within the world. So
yeah,
like Saturdays, I'll do a little bit in the morning, and then from then on, I'm like, unless I just can't help myself. But there was with Anchor. I know you know about Anchor. I was like an Anchor junkie, and that's like, think of a mini podcasting. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with Anchor, so I do media updates on Anchor almost every day. Yesterday I was so worn out from broadcasting Wednesday I didn't, but today I'm going to do some after the show. And I had to put myself on sabbatical from Anchor, because I would be there like for hours answering people back, and it's voice, so it's easy to do. You don't have to you can't, because then you don't do anything else, or I don't do anything else. So I take a sabbatical on weekends.
I do, and it's funny. Well, you didn't see that on Facebook? No, you didn't see it on Facebook. No, I did not. It is not connected to me all day, every day. To a degree, it is, because you got phones.
Right.
But there are days when I choose, and I guarantee you, with the stuff that's going on right now, it might be wise. It might be wise to take a break, because what's going to happen is, okay, now keep in mind, I worked in news a long time. Mm-hmm. This news cycle is gonna, it's gonna run its course, and careers are gonna be made on it. Let's just be real for a minute. Careers are gonna be made. So, knowing that careers are gonna be made on this, what you'll see for the next couple of days is who's got this story, who's got that story, and then they're going to, now that Facebook is paying media outlets to use Facebook Live. And they've got a whole suite of tools set aside so you can do polling, you can do voting, you can get people's videos and things of that nature. So all of those things that traditionally you could do at a station, that you would usually have somebody sitting in a cubicle collecting.
Right.
Or an associate producer pulling their hair out in an edit bay trying to throw together so that you could broadcast it. A lot of that stuff is now being provided on Facebook Live. So between the traditional and between the social media, you're going to be bombarded with some of the same stuff over and over again. Because here's something else that I thought was interesting that kept coming up on Facebook, and it kept coming up on Twitter for me. Why do they always just show the mugshot? How come they're not showing other pictures? And I get that argument, because after a while, it's just like, well, that is the only, why is it that, when black folk do something, we only get the mugshot? But I had to take a step back professionally and tell people, look, at the end of the day, when you are working to get something done for the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever newscast it is, matters not. You're stressed for time. And the mugshots are what do you call it? Public. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go. You don't have to make the phone call to get the permission. You got to get a media release. They got to sign off on the media release, and they got to check off which pictures you can use. And even with everything being on Facebook and Twitter, as a media outlet, you would think, well, of course, it's right there. Just grab it and use it.
Right.
That'll get you in trouble, even though it's done all day, every day. But as a media outlet, you can't just rush to throw up a picture that you have not gotten permission to use. Correct. So on one end, I understand, like, why is it we only get the bad pictures that make them look even more criminal? The reality of it is when you are trying to get a newscast off the ground, time is of the essence. And you got to have that visual because the last thing you want to see is a black hole. Because somebody's paying for that. Somebody is paying.
And if you do notice that there are a lot of news organizations that try really hard to get other pictures subsequently after. So then you'll notice high school pictures. You'll notice pictures of them smiling. Mm-hmm. So so you'll notice that after the fact. But like you said, news is immediate, and that's the way news works. You don't want a black hole. You don't want just some form. You have to have permission, like you said, to use pictures. And dare I add this to those of you that are broadcasting and doing things, like we were saying before, but there was no sound. Even though the cavalry has not come, they are coming. So that means FCC. That means FAA in terms of drones guidance. That also means ASCAP for songs, for music.
Yes.
And it's already happening.
Yes.
So I know you want to share these things, but remember that all of these things belong to somebody else, and you have to have permission to use them. Mm-hmm. You can't just throw them up willy-nilly. The problem is we didn't wrangle the reins of the internet first and then social media second at the very beginning of the game. And so now we're trying to play catch-up because when the internet first, there was no regulation. It was basically
the Wild Wild West.
Nobody did a damn thing about it. So now it's like you've already been allowing people to swim in this pool, go swim in this pool, go to the party for free, and now you want to charge them $10. You can't do that after the fact, after they've already entered.
Yes, all right, because now we're going to sneak in. So
exactly. There's a back door. In fact, if you go through the basement, you can and that's what people are going to do. Mm-hmm. So because you didn't start, when you do these things, unfortunately, look, we don't have a lot of coups as a people. You cannot trust us to do things. So if you want something done the way you want it done, it needs to be from Jump Street.
Yeah.
21 Jump Street.
but on the opposite end of that same argument, it takes a certain kind of producer, a certain kind of editor to realize we can change up this image. We don't have to be lazy about it. We don't have to continue, because at the end of the day, we're going to show you the images that we want to tell the story that we want told.
True.
Because at the end of the day, the power that as a media professional you have, you can use those images and manipulate images, if we're real, and manipulate images to tell the story you want to tell. And right now, I guarantee you, the focus in media is going to move away from the shootings about the victims, these black men, and now the focus is going to change to the police. Now,
well, especially now that there has been the shootings and the 5 officers who have passed away.
Yes.
Now the focus is going to definitely shift towards law, and you can already see that is shifting towards law enforcement. Today, even though it's still, most of the media that I've been seeing has really, although social media is different. I can say that
exactly.
I'm watching television. But remember, you've been in the newsroom. You know this. You worked in news for many years. They've moved on to the next thing. Social media doesn't move on as quick. They can stay on a topic as long as they like. They can move on when they see fit. That's not a luxury you have in the news world.
Yeah. And so that's the other reason why it might be wise to take a break, because news is a business. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, news exists. News exists because the networks want us to be informed about what's going on in the world. No, news exists so that the networks will have content to put ads in.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the end of the day, this whole news cycle is going to go on, and I think we're to that point where we just get gluttonous about it because we want to see the images, we want to see this, we want to see that. So on one end, it's good when instances like this pop up. It is good. Now, I'm telling you, don't tweet, don't Facebook, but it might be wise Because here's the other thing. If you work for somebody else, whatever you're putting on Facebook right now in your angst and in your anger and in your frustration, if you are not careful, it could cost you a job. It could cost you an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So right now, it might be wise to take a sabbatical from Facebook, Twitter. Now, I'm on it all day, every day. But even I know. But I work for myself. But even I know. But even I know what I put out could cost me a potential client. Even I understand that there's a time when you get that angry, and people are angry across on both sides of this argument. So putting all of that and just venting on whatever platform you decide to use may not be the wisest for you.
Right. I mean, and this carries over to anything, basically. I think that we have to start to become more social media savvy, that we need to, just because a platform exists for you to say something does not mean you have to say something. Thank you for the platform. You don't have to say anything. I have been very careful and very calculated about what I've said about this whole thing. I do feel it is my duty, especially since it's media and it's social media. I do, on Twitter, retweet some of the things. I make sure that it's from a reputable source when, in relationship to all three incidents. I have been retweeting things. But that's because it's within the world, and I'm trying to show what is within the world, particularly how social media intersects with that. At the same time, I don't need to say anything, because guess what? A lot of this has been said. So if what I'm saying is not adding something new and intelligent to the conversation, then I don't need to say anything. And that's exactly the mindset that people need to have when it comes to social media. Really quickly, I just wanted to say hello to Cedric Keith Bembry, my good friend Zed. Thank you for joining. And also, Alana, you're so welcome. She says, thank you. Such important conversations. Thank you both. So thank you so much, Alana. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming in and joining. And please share this out to your friends and even your frenemies, depending on what kind of relationship you got with them. So,
exactly. And the reason you may be wondering, okay, it's called the social media scene. You may be wondering, we are talking about social media, but we also live within the world, and we cannot ignore what has happened in the world. So we decided we wanted to talk about it from the standpoint of how social media was affected and how it affected the 3 incidents that took place within the last 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're going to say.
And we'll continue. And we have, for those that are coming new, here's what we're dealing with. This is the social media scene right now. We could have, yes, we wanted to talk about, Twitter and what's popping with Facebook and all the other stuff that might be useful to you in your business. But this is what's on the social media scene right now. And as media professionals, even when we're off camera, we're still media professionals. So it just didn't seem right to act as if there's not all of this stuff going on within social media and have a show called The Social Media Scene, and you're not discussing how all of this is related to social media and media as a whole, because it will soon become where social media and media will not be so separate. It will just be media. It will just be media. Now, how traditional journalists and broadcasters are trying to catch up to that, you're going to see a lot of that for the next couple of days, running and trying to play catch up. I guarantee you, interns, associate producers, news writers are on a computer, they're on a phone, they've got the Twitter hashtags rolling because they're looking for those sources of news, because everybody needs an angle. CBS has that angle. NBC has that angle. And when you're in a newsroom, I guarantee you, CBS is looking at NBC. NBC is looking at CBS and ABC. Everybody's looking at what everybody else is broadcasting because they want to know, how did they get that story? Exactly. Where did they get that story from? And how come we don't have it? Exactly. So right now, this is a social media scene. Thank you. It is a very important conversation. But I think too, before we close this out, talking about if you just feel that compelled to do something with social media, then do it positively. Prime example, when I interviewed the guy who was behind the Million Hoodie movement. And that is a wonderful case study in how you can use social media to galvanize people around a cause. Now, he had a regular job working at an agency. So it wasn't even something that his agency even helped him do. Danny, Marie is his last name. Can't think of his first name right now. But he took to Facebook, did the Facebook page, did the Facebook event. He used the Twitter, had the hashtag Million Hoodie Movement, and was able to get that first big march in New York using social media that way to connect with people, to get the protests. If you want to document what you're doing, then you can use the YouTubes and the Facebook Lives and the Periscopes. But if you're going to do it that way, that's probably a better way to do it, as opposed to, as I said before, just using it as a place to rant. Leave the rant for the pillow. or your best friend that you can tell everything to, and it doesn't go any further than them or your family. Because a lot of the rants that we're seeing on social media right now, 5 years from now, they'll dig up that very same Facebook post and use it against you, or Twitter, or whatever it is, or Instagram, whatever it is you're using. So there are ways to use these platforms in a positive way. There are ways to use the platforms, to galvanize people, to get people around a cause. Black Lives Matter is another great kind of example, which I find it. Have you seen, like, they have shortened Black Lives Matter hashtag? Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
to BLM?
BLM, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of, I understand it because it's Twitter, but that BLM, that could be used so many different ways. You don't even know what that is.
Exactly. I mean, I saw an article with BLM in it, and it took me about, but what is BLM? Oh, Black Lives Matter. So it's already been it's already been quote unquote marketed as Black Lives Matter. So now when you try to play around with it, you have to make sure you have the right acronym, because that just doesn't follow. It's like a non sequitur kind of.
Yeah. So for those of you that are thinking of, hey, I'm just gonna do something, get organized, create a hashtag, please research that hashtag before you attach it to your campaign, because that could go really wrong really fast if you don't know what you're doing. So, Tachi, what else do you want to bring to the party?
Well, we talked about a lot today. I think you want to leave it on this note, because I had other stuff to add, but
no. Go ahead and add it.
Well, no. It was not related to this.
Oh. So, you mean related to? It's not related to the
social media in general. So.
No, that's fine. I think we should go ahead. You know what? Let's balance.
Snapchat is being sued. They're facing a new lawsuit.
Yep.
I don't know if you heard about this, but over claims that Snapchat Discover routinely serves up sexually explicit content to minors without warning them or their parents. So the lawsuit was brought about by a 14-year-old boy and his mother in the U.S. District Court in Central District of California. They said they were offended by explicit content in the Snapchat Discover channels, including an article by BuzzFeed, a BuzzFeed feature which was called, brace yourself, 23 pictures that are too real if you've ever had sex with a penis.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't understand that. But apparently they were offended and they are suing. So it says they routinely do this, that they routinely put up sexually explicit content. Now, here's the thing. Snapchat usually is very when it comes to the content that is there, right? And so it's interesting. Snapchat is usually very diligent when it comes to these things. So, and in the App Store, it's rated as being for ages 12 and older. And says contains, quote, infrequent or mildly explicit or some mildly sexual content, nudity, suggestive themes, etc. Okay, so it restricts its terms of use, though, to children 13 and older. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this one. There's already something about Snapchat being sued because somebody was using remember the driving filter?
Mm-hmm.
So Snapchat is having some issues right now. The bottom line is that was less controllable by Snapchat. That was that girl's foolishness versus this, where they absolutely should. Well, and then it's like, do you vet out a content of somebody who's paying you? I'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, because well, you know what? It'll be interesting because there are contracts in place before those things happen.
Absolutely.
And so, especially when you are spending that amount of money on any social media platform, somewhere generally somewhere in the fine print of that contract, it says you are not to, generally speaking.
Correct.
So
There probably was none of that, which is why they felt it was okay to go ahead and do that. But that's BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed has that type of content,
and that might have been it too. That's the brand. Because had that been somebody else, you'd have been like, oh no, we got to take that down. Exactly. But because it's BuzzFeed, and because that Snapchat audience is so young, it's still now, despite the fact you could pull up an article right now and it'll tell you how the parents are, leaning into using Snapchat more, and now that the older people are coming, the younger people are getting pissed because the older people are coming to Snapchat. It's just like, you can go to the moon. We coming. Where do you think you're gonna go that we're not gonna have access to?
We're probably paying for your ticket to the moon, so several seats.
I am paying for your data plan, little boy.
Several seats. So that's, go ahead. Sorry. So
it's interesting to me where Snapchat is the, on one end, I think a lot of it is just tech PR. In other words, it's right. A lot of buzz around Snapchat.
Yeah.
But a lot of that buzz is because when you look at the demographics, and companies now are going after the millennial market because there's so many more of them, the Generation X, right, and the baby boomers. And so companies are, literally vying and trying to do everything that they can do to get this millennial market. So if that's where millennials are hanging out, that's where the brands want to be. But
absolutely,
yeah.
But you know what? Here's the thing. In a sense, it kind of seems unfounded. I recently went to a conference and I was asking about this because I said to them, I'm like, I get that brands are trying to make a connection with millennials. So even though they may not, have it now, that maybe later on I'm able to, as Scion or Ford or any of these brands, I'm able to connect with them now so that I have their business later. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. But I said, guess what? I'm a professor. I teach millennials. So I'm like, oh, Lord. Okay. So I'm like, I'm a professor. I teach millennials. Every time I see them, they don't have any money. The whole room started cracking up because I'm like, this is true. It's like they're still not independent. And the millennial is such a broad. Remember, millennials are from age 18 to 34/35. Mm-hmm. And so you've got on one end maybe the 35-year-old who is on that second leg of their career now, kind of, they're not junior career people anymore, starting to move up a little bit. Now have a little bit of money, might want to invest in buying a house, they're getting married. But then you have the 18-year-olds who are fresh out of high school and looking around. So that's a big disparity. So I'm like, what end of millennials are you trying? You just say the millennial generation. Well, who? The 35 who has the money to buy a condo in Manhattan, or the 18-year-old who's asking their mother for money for now laters? I don't get it.
She said now laters.
Now later. I said cost down. It used to be like 10 damn cents. I don't know if I'm going to say cost down.
She said now later. Yeah. Now, and what's funny is you didn't say now and later. You said now later as we would.
That's how everybody says it.
That's how everybody says it.
Now and later. And if you're really from the area, some people say nominators. So, yeah.
That's a new one. Even for me, that's a new one.
I used to hear that all the time, and I'm like, this is very interesting. Nominators, you say. So, in any case, yeah, that's the thing with that. I have a couple other pieces
Okay.
before we sign off. So if you know Bumble, Bumble is a Tinder like, I hate to compare, but that's what they talked about in the article. It's like a Tinder, so it's a dating app, okay? But the dating app and the communication is initiated by women. So it's kind of billed as the feminist Tinder. That's basically what they say.
The feminist Tinder, because it's women making the offer to date.
I guess they initiate any conversation.
That's like it's like what, the Sally Hopkins dance? Is that
Sadie Hopkins?
The Sadie Hopkins.
Yeah. You know what? They should have just called it damn Sadie Hopkins. There you go. There you go. Sadie Hopkins.
And that makes you a feminist. Oh, okay.
Okay, it's marketing. They don't know what's from feminism. Anyway, so Bumble now has another end to their app. I don't know why I'm hearing myself. Okay, so Bumble has another end to their app called Bumble Biz. So they're kind of trying to compete with LinkedIn. So instead, it uses the same kind of thing as Bumble does. You can swipe left and swipe right, but this is more for business. So instead of swiping for dates, you can also swipe for friends. So they have a platform, Bumble, where you can find friends as well, but now you can swipe for jobs, okay? And this was just announced yesterday, okay? And it's really kind of interesting. So if they're billing it kind of as a more casual platform than LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really about prospecting and finding prospective jobs and offers rather than live conversation. And that's the difference between Bumble Biz and LinkedIn. Now, what I didn't realize, and I just found this out today, was that I think I've been asleep when it comes to LinkedIn, but that Microsoft is acquiring LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, they acquired LinkedIn about what, 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
They acquired LinkedIn, right? So I slept on that. I'm like, how did I miss that? Usually I know everything, but yeah. So I'm like, but what I'm troubled about with that is like LinkedIn already, of course, everybody thinks about the app and LinkedIn as a platform that is more of the business and button thing, and Microsoft kind of has that stodgy feel. I don't know that something like Bumble Biz has enough fire to steal the thunder from LinkedIn.
Nope.
But based off of, but you can't be too careful either, because people laugh at a lot of these other platforms and look where they are now. So I would say, be careful, especially since there is this capacity to do person to person now. They also have partnered. Bumble has also partnered with Spotify, and they allow users to judge friends or dates based on their music taste. So they're adding all of these different things. Bumble has almost 7 million registered users, or actually people that created profiles, and its estimated value is 500 million. Now, we all know sometimes estimated value or whatever, all of that is subjective. But it is what it is, and I think this is just my prediction. Not that it has, like I said, enough wind to steal the thunder from LinkedIn, but I think that LinkedIn should take this seriously. So,
I tell you what's interesting about LinkedIn and dating, because depending on who you ask, it's not like LinkedIn after dark, like Blab or anything.
Right.
But there is a layer of looking for a potential mate on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I had heard from plenty of people how LinkedIn had become the new dating spot. Because think about it.
Yeah.
You got a picture of them. You got an employment history. You got a degree, don't have a degree, or you at least went to a school somehow or other. You can see what groups they're in. They're posting content. You can see who their friends are in some instances. So it's just like, oh, I think he's cute. What group is he in? Let me send him an in message right quick. Hi. But you come in on the professional hoping, well, can we get an email? Because once you get the email.
You have a friend on here, Quinette Murphy, who says, hey, Alice, and she's saying, right?
Hey, Quinette. Hey, yep. I'm just letting you know. If on one end, everything appears to be very professional on LinkedIn. But I'll be honest, there are some people you have to, like, now, our paths probably would not generally cross.
Right.
why do you want to be connected with me?
Yes,
We're not in the same group. We're not in this. We don't have any friends together. I mean, were you searching for a social media person, or how did you come into my little neck of the woods?
And it will be something totally random, like director of food services for Sodexo or something. And it's like, I nowhere near work anything with food. Did you read my profile? So that makes perfect sense. Like, you think about it. Of course, the hell you're going to look for somebody that's equally yoked with you on LinkedIn, because you see But see, again, that's if that is your main thing. That's your main thing. If employment and work and professional things are the only way you judge the salience of a relationship, then that works fine for you. But if you're looking for other things, that it might not work as well. But at least that's a more solid start than being on like a Tinder or something and swiping left, and you don't know this fool from Adam Ant.
She said from Adam Ant. That's for you youngins.
Oh, whoops.
For you youngins in the building, Adam Ant was a pop star back in the mid '80s. I can't remember I think he might have had 2 hits, maybe more, but that's that reference. Now you can go ahead with your conversation. Go ahead. I just had to make.
One time I was in class, I was teaching, and I think I made a Lisa Stansfield reference. I said something to the effect of, I'm not going to keep correcting you. You people want me to been around the world and I. And they would look at me, I'm like, oh, you don't remember that song. Never mind. And I think I made a Brady Bunch reference one time. But, I mean, if you are... and I'm like, look, hey, I wasn't around when they shot the Brady Bunch either, but watched it in reruns, and I get it. So it is what it is. Quinette Murphy is laughing. Thank you for the laughter. We love it. So yeah, that's what I have for you this week in terms of what's going on. So one more thing.
All right.
Snapchat unveiled Snapchat memories. Those of you, I'm an avid Snapchatter. And I'll tell you what else I do when we sign off. That's the reason that I use Snapchat. It's a new feature, and it's going to let users save and share snaps and other photos and video that you have saved to your phone. So you're actually going to be able to insert other video and other photos on your phone into Snapchat, which you can't currently do. What you can do now is use the snap. So you can't use outside video or outside pictures. You can just use the Snapchat tool to capture videos and pictures. So there's, some people, there's always critics with these types of things. Some people are worried, we're just going to make the app less spontaneous, and it might make it more addictive, whatever. But it also is going to change how news organizations use the app. And you know that news organizations as well as brands have been all over Snapchat lately. And we just talked about it. The almighty millennial. Everybody is trying to get there. So since millennials are on Snapchat, they're coming on Snapchat too. So with memories, you're going to be able to, again, save snaps, and not just save snaps. You can save them, edit them, and then resend them, and then other people can add them to their Snapchat story. So there's a lot of sharing that's going on there. Now, not everyone has access to it yet. They're rolling it out just like they do with everybody. Probably influencers right now have access to it, and then they'll roll it out to everybody probably later on this summer. So it is what it is. So that's what I have in terms of what's new, what's the underground social media.
That's the underground. Okay. Now here's one of the last couple of things, because I'm going to segue. That's a TV word. We're going to segue into some other things that you'll probably end up using, especially for those of you who love Twitter like I do. If you're going out to the protest, or whatever you're doing in life, remember your Twitter videos are no longer just 30 seconds. You now have 140 seconds. That's a minute 30. Technically, that's a news package. That's a news package. So, The fact that you can now do videos longer. Video is the hotness. I don't care what platform you're on, with the exception of maybe LinkedIn. They got to figure that out. But everybody right now is focusing on video. How are you going to use video, online video, live streaming, whatever video content it is. So, and Twitter, knowing that Facebook is always, at their ankles, have extended the video to 140 characters. The other thing you'll probably end up using, because I hate to say it, but on YouTube, the reality of it is YouTube sometimes has a very nasty, sometimes a very racist. You can get a very ugly audience on YouTube. Luckily, YouTube understands this, and so now you can start moderating. And this is not just true for YouTube. It is also, who else is doing comment moderation?
Instagram is doing comment moderation.
Instagram is doing comment moderation. I want to say, Periscope has now moderation for everybody who, the trolls who come in through your Periscope. Show me your boobies, or show me something. Now you can allow, of course you can click on their name and kick them out or ban them, but now you can allow your community. And in many cases, if you've got a real strong following, your community will come to the rescue almost every time when those spammers or those trolls or whatever come in and try to get more attention than they deserve. So that will come in probably really handy. And so even with the YouTube, same thing. You can now do better moderation of those comments, because if you go back on some of the old videos, because now that so much of this stuff is going to end up on YouTube, not just Facebook Live, but on YouTube for an international audience, I guarantee you those sideways, racist, just ignorant, and everything else is going to come. And if you have a YouTube channel, especially as a business, or you're trying to become one of those YouTube partners and things of that nature, now is the time to keep a careful eye on the YouTube comments. Same thing with Instagram, because you can really get great engagement on Instagram, but again, you've got some individuals who really want to fight you almost. I mean, just really want to pull you into this, just drag you down. So now you have some tools in place to take more control over what's being said, and don't allow people to come in and mess up your whole vibe on your page or on your profile.
So Quinette asks, what about Facebook? Are they going to do this as well?
At this point, you can answer that.
Well, we can both answer it because we're both equipped. At this point, that's not necessarily a concern, because the only people that can make comments are the people that are, number one, either on the page that you're streaming from, in the group that you're streaming from, or in the invite that you're streaming from. So at this point, it's not necessarily a big issue, because if these people are people then arguably they're not going to be making inflammatory comments. If they are, you just get rid of them. The bigger thing will be once there is the ability for people watching anywhere, basically, to comment. Because if you go to Facebook now, I don't know if you know, but you can see who's streaming live right now by going to facebook.com/live-map. And you're able to see whoever is able to do, whoever. So I don't think right now that that's something that's on their radar, but as it gets more solid as a platform, Facebook Live, comment moderation, it may be something that comes up, but I don't think it's really a concern as it is now.
Yeah. And the thing about the Facebook.com map, you can only get to that on a computer. That is not available yet via mobile. But they'll probably make it so, because they're aiming for Periscope too. But as of right now, that map is only available.
Wait a minute. You know what? I was able to the other day actually go to Live Map and see it on my iPad.
Okay.
So they may have done some playing around where now it's optimized for iOS and you're able to use it now. Excuse me, I haven't tried, but excuse me, guys, I'm getting over something, so that's why I keep. But I haven't tried it with my Android, so I don't know if you're able to do that with Android, but I was able to pull up the map with my iPad. Now, as to how active it is, I don't know, but we're able to pull up the map.
I was watching Facebook marketer Marie Smith, and she had a bazillion. You know, as usual, she pops up and she's got a huge following. And she was trying to introduce the map to the audience and people streaming, and she wasn't even on the map.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's 100% accurate, or their algorithm is messing up things for the map. That's what it feels like to me. So you wanted to algorithm. So they've set the algorithm so that what you see that's most prominent are posts and videos from your friends and family, as opposed to brands and marketers.
Yeah.
That's the way they've set it up. But, you know, that spells trouble for brands and marketers, because I'm like, are you going to algorithm me right out of being seen? Because then why would I pay for this? So that's something else that people have to consider as well.
And that's why, because they're going to make you pay for every view. Every view. Everybody is suffering from the algorithm and this new. It's not even a new focus. I don't know what the hoopla is really all about. They've been doing this from since 2014, then again in 2016 or whatever it was. They've been reducing organic reach all along. So this is nothing new. So for those of you starting a fan page new, if you want to do it organically, man, you're going to have to put in work. You're going to put in some work. If you've got a budget, a little bit of a budget, and you are willing to do Facebook ads, you could probably build, if you target it correctly, you could probably do it well. But if you're trying to do something organically on Facebook right about now, you might get a little frustrated, especially if you're a small business and you don't have a lot of resources, you don't have a lot of money. But maybe if you got celebrity friends or something, maybe they could come on. You know, you got to get creative.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I've started to notice that a lot of partnerships between, so for example, live streamers. There are popular live streamers, and they're kind of having these partnerships between each other and pushing themselves that way. So you're going to have to get creative.
Yeah.
Because the algorithms are just, like I said, going to algorithm you right out of views if you're not careful. So you've got to get creative. You've got to partner up, and you've got to team up with people.
Yeah.
Let's see. When it asks, so when is Facebook rolling out this interview platform you all are on now? I'm glad you think we're that special that we have been asked to be testers of the interview platform. The answer to that is later this summer. It is going to be rolled out. I don't know if it will be rolled out to everyone or just certain quote-unquote influencers, but it will be rolled out later this summer. That's per Facebook. What we're on is something completely different.
Yeah, we're doing. You got two sisters here that are just doing something. We came at it a little different, just doing it a little different. Because if we had used our mobile phones, we couldn't get each other in the same frame. So in order for us to be host and co-host, you know, you want to see both of us at the same time. So we had to use something a little different, and we can tell you offline.
Absolutely.
Because matter of fact, what we're using is not so revolutionary. There are other tools that exist that will help you do this side by side, or I could manipulate the images for her to make it like Brady Bunch if I wanted to. if I literally wanted to. But because right now it's just the two of us. So you can just message me and I'll tell you what we're using. But I'll be honest with you. I'm doing a lot because I'm on camera. I'm trying to be engineer and director. So as of right now, I'm looking forward to when Facebook does this depending on what it looks like. Because if it's going to look like a little like Skype, where you got a little picture in the bottom and a big picture, that I'm not necessarily interested in.
Using said third-party app.
Yeah, that format I'm not interested in. But if they can give us something that would allow two people to be on the same screen in the same window at the same time at the same size, wonderful. But if it's just going to be with one big picture and a picture-in-picture in the lower right-hand corner, that doesn't move me. So we might just stick to what we have. But I'll just be honest, it might be a little intimidating if you're not if you're one of those persons that doesn't like a lot of bells and whistles and processes, because this is a process.
It
So
really
yeah.
is. Wow. So wow, we've severely gone over time.
Well, not really, because 130 is not bad. Because
Oh,
even I know with Facebook Live, and this is true with Facebook Live, the longer you're on a little bit, now we might have extended that a little bit, but it takes a minute for people to actually find you. And the reality of it is, the audience that I have is West Coast, East Coast. So West Coast is just waking up. East Coast is like, oh, we at lunch, you know. So this is good because I wanted people to get a breath, to get to feel us out as they're going to do anyway. Because most people, you may not even watch the whole broadcast. You're going to fast forward through this mug like I do with most stuff. And because I don't have this video will not have the words in it, you're not going to be able to listen to it with the volume down.
Exactly.
So, knowing that people are going to fast forward through this, and we wanted to really flesh out this whole social media scene with the politics, the racial, and all this other stuff. So it's all good. We're 1:30 in. So thank everybody for tuning in. We will be back, same place, same time. I almost said same station. That's 80s talk.
Yes. You know what though? Hey, Joel Wheeler, how are you? Not if you're subscribed to the person. It will not take a minute. I disagree. Okay, he disagrees that it will take a minute. If you're subscribed to the person. Yeah, that's true. But remember, like for my followers, they're subscribed to me on my page. Mm-hmm. And so they don't know about Sheer Social except for the stuff that I put up. But exactly. They will know about the Sheer Social page. Mm-hmm. Believe. So, and like Sheer Social, please. Like Sheer Social.
Well, yeah.
Tell people where to find you. And
well, I can be found everywhere, obviously on Facebook, but on Twitter as Sheer Social, on YouTube as Sheer Social, on Pinterest as Sheer Social.
We're about Periscope.
And on Periscope as Sheer Social. Now, I do have another side. I do have an entertainment side. But as of today, I'm not promoting the entertainment side as much today. But with the background that I have, because my background is actually in television and film before I started doing social media. So, but for those of you who want to follow me on Twitter on the entertainment side, that's Hollywood LVWORK. And there's a whole separate presence just for that alone. So yeah, I'm yeah, you can find me. I'm easy to find. So thank y'all for coming in. Thank you, Miss Tachi.
Well, let me tell them where they can find me.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I am at Tachiada, TACHIADA, on all platforms. Basically, that's Periscope, Busker, Snapchat, Twitter. Facebook, I use my real name. Oh, thank you. Joel Wheeler says, I love you, Dr. Takachi Egwu, as always. Thank you. I love you too, Joel. He was actually supposed to be one of my students. I left the university before he actually registered for my class, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving.
Aw, man.
But I love you, Joel, and thank you guys for, make sure you follow Alice, make sure you follow me, and thank you. So go ahead, take us out, sis.
All right, we're going to roll the credits. Just imagine credits rolling.
You use your eyes and just roll up.
Just imagine. And you got the nice dramatic music at the end, and then we're going to fade to black. Now, if I can figure out how to fade to black with all this equipment that I got here, I would do it. But I haven't learned how to do that yet. So, thank everybody. Please share the video. Come back again. Next week, we'll be here at the same time, same place, same page. And we might try to extend some other tools to Periscope and some other things. And be sure to like our pages, but don't just like our pages, because here's the thing. Liking it will not be enough anymore. You have to engage, because if you don't engage with the page, Facebook will stop feeding it to you. That's one. Two, go ahead and get notifications so that when we do go live, you'll get notified. So you can click the little when you click the little like button, click it again. There's a little drop down, and you can get notifications. And so that will help you whenever we do something live, get a notification, because, like I said, organic reach right now is down to nothing. All right. So it is Friday, people. Have a blessed, and a great weekend. And please be safe.
Absolutely.
Be safe. Be safe. Be safe. All right.
Love, guys.
Bye-bye.